AV SuperFriends On Topic is an independent production wholly owned and operated by AV SuperFriends LLC. For the highest quality recording of all of our shows, visit avsuperfriends.com. This is AV SuperFriends On Topic, a 30-minute monthly roundtable focused on a single topic. This discussion will be opinionated, to the point, and saturated with our well-known blend of painfully won expertise and deeply ingrained immaturity. For March 2025, it's the best-sounding podcast in higher ed. This is the AV SuperFriends On Topic, episode number, what are we at, 56. That's too many of these.
Just the other day, we were at 100 and something.
I don't know.
On topic versus
It's hard.
off the rails.
Off the topic.
Numbers,
Off the topic.
numbers of things.
Explain it to me.
I should go back about 5 years and tell us not to do it this way. It's confusing.
Let's not do it. Maybe we'll just stop doing that.
And yes, it's Wednesday, so we're doing things a little bit differently. So broadcasting live from coast to coast and everywhere in between, transmitting across time zones faster than crummy hotel Wi-Fi. From the back of the rack to the front of the house, I'm Chris Dector, and I'm pushing buttons, flipping switches, and turning knobs. And you're tuned in for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure, but it's on Wednesday. So this is a Wednesday afternoon podcast adventure. So thanks for joining us. Impromptu with no warning. We just went
watches accordingly.
This is so. If you're wondering why we're doing this on Wednesday, it's February. It's the shorter month, and we have to squeeze in all these shows. And to be brutally honest, we forgot earlier.
We're bad at things. If only there were notes.
Calendars are problems for us. So.
Yes.
True.
But
well, we do it anyway.
we're still here, and we're going to do the same show for you. And those of you listening to this on a recording, you have no idea what we're talking about.
Congratulations.
So, with that in mind, let's say hello to our panel of AV Super Friends today. With
Oh shit! Are we having we're doing notes here?
Yes. Today I'm joined by a product metrics producer from Kansas City. Say hello to Jamie Reinhardt.
I'm taking note. Getting metrics.
35 millimeter.
Also joined by a national interactions architect from Corvallis, Oregon. Say hello to Mark Kolozinski.
We can feel it nationally, not necessarily as local as we wanted to, but nationally. We're going to go big this time.
Also joined by an interactive identity manager from Greensboro, North Carolina. Say hello to Larry Darling.
Feels like a choose-your-own adventure book.
It's part of your OnlyFans.
The answer was just cough.
And finally, joined by our Vice President for Customer Optimization from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Mr. Justin Rexing.
We've optimized all of our customers by getting rid of half of them.
Are they paying still? If they're not paying, they're not customers.
There's subscription services, so sure. It's like that Netflix account you forgot you had. It's like us.
Apparently there's some service out there that keeps track of all your subscriptions and tells you what you're subscribed
That's
to.
also a paid-for service.
Right, but how does it know what you're subscribed to if you don't tell it? And if you've already forgotten, how does it know?
It knows.
Because the cloud knows.
Because
So
Doge
it scans, and then the cloud comes back and tells you how much money you're
It
wasting.
says add
My
your bank
life's an
account
open
information.
book. Come
Right.
And
get
that
it.
costs more money
It's
to
not
tell you
complicated.
how much money you're spending.
That's something. If you're going to take my identity, you got to take all of it. You don't get to pick and
Social
choose.
Security number is 6.
All of it.
Yes.
If you signed up for that app, you should question your life. Like,
Wait,
you're
what?
not even keeping a track of where
Don't
your
worry
money's
about
It's
it.
not
going.
rocket money. It's not.
All
sponsored.
you have to
Yeah.
do is cross-reference your password page, and it's done.
Yeah.
I set all my passwords to be the same. It's easier that way.
I just have them as my screensaver. It has the note on my computer. It's a screensaver. It has all the passwords. Just runs.
I thought
That's
this
my
was
license
on
plate.
topic.
It is.
Oh, yes.
We're very
is
specifically
the
talking
topic.
Thanks,
about.
Justin. So on today's show, we're going to discuss our process of updating standards. But first, some housekeeping.
Standards.
Not the news. So first of all, if you're listening to this as a recorded MP3, we do stream live on Fridays, except today when it's Wednesday, at about 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. So best way to find out when we're streaming for these like surprise
If we're on,
streaming
we're on.
things
Yeah.
is
Subscribe.
join us live or join us on Twitter, LinkedIn. Where else we stream to? YouTube,
Blue
Blue
face.
Sky.
The blue face.
Yeah, Blue Sky. Just go there, blueface.com, and find it there. That's where it is.
I would not recommend that.
Yes.
No.
Blueface is
I don't-
where you want to be. And if you can't join us live, we still want you to connect with us. So join us on those same social media locations. And please spread the word. Share this podcast with your friends, colleagues, enemies, perfect strangers, and anyone else who might enjoy it. If you could pull out into the middle of a busy intersection, stop traffic of all 4 ways, and tell people to subscribe to the show, that would be fantastic.
If you're doing a keynote over the next couple of days, tell them about us. Just take some time out of your keynote address.
Or
and talk
just
about
run
our
one
show.
of our shows for the
As the
keynote,
keynote,
because
yeah,
it's
that
probably
works
going to
too.
be easier that way too.
Yeah.
So, we do want to hear from you. Please reach out via email, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, all that fun stuff. If you want to support the show, please consider donating. Your contributions help us keep bringing you the honest content that you love or love to hate. And you can find the donation link in the show notes of this. The episode description of this very episode, or on our website, or wherever. So, or just put $3 in a self-addressed stamped envelope and mail it to Justin's house, care of Dog
Justin.
Replacement Farm, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
That's
finally-
that's pretty close.
They'll figure it out. There's only like 6 guys there, so yeah, it'll work.
When you do subscribe to us on one of these services, please do leave a rating and review, because that bumps us up in the algorithms, and then more people will see us and have to deal with me telling you this every show. So,
Sure,
all right.
direction
So
we're
thanks for
going.
your support, and we couldn't do this without you. But now enough of that. Let's go to do some actual content. So,
Yeah, what are we talking about?
what we are talking about on this show is, I think we were trying to figure out what's going to be our best approach for March, and March topic is whatever we want. So we decided we'd talk about standards. And Larry, I think you're the one who raised this. Like, isn't this the time of year that we need to like kind of revisit our standards
Revamp.
and how we're doing that, and make some slight changes? And
Spring
Well,
cleaning.
It came up because this is the time of year when several of our schools give out one-time funds, and so we're tasked with spending money quickly. And so, we typically get stuck with whatever standard was this year. We're going to continue to buy that. But Mark
You have money?
brought up that occasionally, but Mark brought up that we're doing it wrong because our standards are the
Why
entire
not?
room,
Yeah.
and apparently he's not doing that anymore. And to me, how do you?
Is this the kit
I'm
of
still
parts?
stuck.
It
Kinda,
probably is.
a little bit.
It is.
I'm still
doing
in the mindset that my standard for this year is this complete system, and I'm going to install this complete system in these 30 rooms ish, plus or minus some stuff. And if I need to pre-purchase for next year, I'm probably going to end up having to do the exact same system. And I
And
thought
pay
that was the way
25%
most of us
more.
were doing it.
You probably are. You're probably correct. But I'm teasing out that maybe there are budget woes from different universities across the land that may require a little bit of nuance. And I think that's the take. Jamie, what's up?
Well, I'm gonna say I'm aboard the Mark bandwagon here. I don't buy things by the room anymore, and especially with end of year. It's stock my shelves with the most common things that I'm gonna put everywhere, no matter what.
do you do that for departmental spaces too? And then do you build them back, or do you have a mechanism for that?
Yeah.
Most
The kit is the kit. We have it.
The kit is the kit.
Well, because there are some common components, but to Larry's point, departments come up with these, and they're not necessarily one-time funds as much as funds that are going to be spent out by the end of the fiscal year. And so,
see-
but you don't know if it's real or not, and so I'm a little,
Yeah.
reticent
Hey,
to just go buy a bunch of stuff.
Jahari,
Jamie's got a
English.
fan.
Jahari's joining us today.
Yeah, look at that.
So that's departmental. If they get extra funds, then that's usually a site visit and a let's tune this thing up, right?
Yeah.
If it's a refresh, if it's something that's under my thing, if it's my end of year budget, I'm stocking
Yeah.
the shelves with the everyday parts, and let's go do it. And I don't buy full room kits much anymore unless it's a brand new, it's either a capital project and or a department that comes in and says, hey, we're going to gut this room. Can you just give us new stuff?
I think if you have the luxury of doing the full room, by all means do the full room. But I don't know if that's the case everywhere anymore. I think in a perfect world where we have this nice cadence and budgets are solid and everything's moving and we're doing everything we've planned, yes. If you got the luxury and you have the time, go replace your whole room with your standard kit of stuff. And then if you had a failure along the way, you can kind of replace that. But how much kit can you get to stretch and cover as much need? To me, is the intriguing piece. Like, what I could build out X amount of room, yes. But if I don't need to build out X amount of room, does that mean I have this inventory that I can apply towards break fix?
And I'm
if
getting to
push
the
comes to
point
shove.
where that kit is actually everywhere. So even if I'm going to update this entire room, chances are it's that same stuff I just stocked the shelves with.
But isn't the money you're saving with the one-time system built just being spent in labor because you're having to go to that room multiple times now?
Depends.
We're gonna be in the room multiple times anyway, whether it's going to be for service and cleaning or whatever it is. And I'm not saying it's a foolproof way to build your standards around. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I think when we start talking about the totality of budget, like in that if you have hundreds of spaces, and in a perfect world, yes, your budget aligns. But what if it doesn't? And what if it doesn't align? You're not going to get that refresh. Are you better saying, well, I'm going to blow all this on these 10 rooms, or is it better to say, okay, what needs to be dealt with today in that room? If it's all dead, yes, replace it all. That's fine. But can you get excess life and move things and be a little more nimble and agile? And again, I think it's a tactic. It's not this is the way it has to be for everything, right? And so if we look at our standards and say, okay, the stuff's not the standard anyway, right? That part's not part of like a Division 27. It's the infrastructure is infrastructure. What do you have as the material you're going to have on hand for endpoints? Be really critical and intentional about that. Or as Chris likes to do, go buy a giant 16 by 16 or 32 by 32 matrix switcher and just put that everywhere.
Sometimes 2 or 3.
Right.
For fun.
Well, and I've reached a point where most of these times, these refresh Larrys, I'm taking out the all-in-wonders that we like.
Yeah.
We use a lot of cross points, right? But those are coming off, and
How dare you, sir?
it's not that they're bad. We're just changing the way we do things.
Nope. Only one.
Right? There's only one way. Buy an all-in-wonder, and it has to all be from the same company, no matter what, because that's the only way this world
If your
turns.
smallest room doesn't
But
have
it
a full
has to
height rack,
cost.
Next to the lectern.
But the all-in-wonder has to cost $4,999. So it's not.
Yes,
a
I'm not
capital
managing it as an asset. Don't even ask. It's not even a question.
So that's just where I've come in. It's just been the last couple of years that, and it's not even because of Mark's preaching. I mean, he's got a really big soapbox that he stands on about this kit of parts.
Yeah.
But organically, that's where we've ended up.
Yeah,
Especially when you're starting to use AV over IP, especially like in my case, a lot of my stuff just goes on the enterprise network, so I don't have to deal with a lot of this crap. And all of a sudden, those projectors I put in a few years ago, they're all lasers, have low hours. I'm not replacing them. Amplifiers, speakers, I'm not replacing them. So let's put in the network shit and go. Let's just go.
Like I think we have these staggered approaches of like, would love it if everything kind of died at the same time and it was all the same lifespan, but it's not. And I think I've even said in the past, it'd be nice if some things actually weren't as long-lived and would reflect that as a price point, but we're not there. But look at the totality of a space, especially the non-typical spaces, right? The ones that have the weird configurations, they're bigger or whatever it is. Do you have to have an all or not approach to those? Can you go in and say, I'm going to do transport, or I'm going to do DSP, or I'm going to do, can you stage a refresh in a non-standard space? Yeah, I'm not, time is of value and that piece can be annoying.
Man,
but can you be more effective with a budget?
That's what I live every day. That's all we do.
I've been living that with like I have a pharmacy project, right? And they couldn't do all the places all at once all the time. It was just too much of a budget hop. So we're doing the thirds. It has been a never ending.
Yeah.
I do a third this year in one location, a third next year in another location, a third next year, and then by the time I get done with that third, I gotta go back and do the next third.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm done with it. Like
efficient.
we're gonna have a meeting and we're gonna talk about, look, this isn't
problem
feasible
is-
any longer.
If somebody's
now-
budget is what it is, they don't have another option. So the other option is to not do anything.
Well, to us right now, though, with the old way was it all came back to Essentials Core, and it was the big 4 billion by 4 billion matrices and everything else. And now that we're plugging in network endpoints all over the place, it's easier to just do the whole thing and be done with it. And now it's an endpoint swap, not an entire infrastructure swap.
So, Jamie, I have a similar scenario where the College of Business wants to do like 25 rooms. Well, they don't have the budget to do 25 rooms in one shot. And Mark, to your point, I don't need to replace everything in there, but the vast majority of things, even if I'm just doing control and transport and displays and things, that still adds up. And so instead of trying to do it in phased across the board, I said, pick, a third of your rooms and a third of your rooms and a third of your rooms, and we'll do it that way. So yes, it will be a longer term project, but it was funny during the discussions of this when the business school, of all people, the business school business managers are now like, hey, wouldn't this be easier if we just knew how many we were doing every couple of years and just budgeted accordingly? I'm like, yes,
it would be.
But it's one
I
of those
wish
things
it was by room. I've got to do like a third of a system.
Yeah, they had to discover that like themselves and like kind of come to that conclusion themselves to be like, oh, let's just do like 5 a year forever. I'm like, okay. But
that's the nuance that a lot of the individual colleges or departments, they only see the things within their little world. They're not understanding that you all, as a central, larger management, has to deal with 500 spaces. They're just worried about their little 20 spaces. You're like, oh, well, wait, wouldn't it be easy? Well, yes, it would be a lot easier if you just get on board with everything else, but that's not always the case, and that's a luxury if we actually get that. And so, I don't know, it's interesting, but let's bend this now. Larry, are you rethinking what is in your quote-unquote standard quiver, kit / whatever you're going with?
Your backpack.
Yeah, as you approach your standard, has it changed? Or has there anything as of late that has made you think differently about what your standard may be?
Oh yeah, there's multiple projects that are rumored to be coming out this year that I think will greatly benefit me. But the problem is I got that one-time fund, and which means now I don't have time or the knowledge of what's rumored to actually quote and procure. So
wait, you don't quote people on vaporware?
No, I don't.
Oh.
And so I'm stuck again running
whoa.
what I've used another year, which will now be like the 4th year on that same standard. And I was really wanting to do 3 years and then jump to the next one.
But you don't have your next standard yet.
I don't have it because...
So what is it? I mean, isn't that easier to just stick with something that works?
It is, but at some point, like
it's the cost of change. You got to make a jump somewhere.
I've got to make that.
But why? What's triggering that jump?
Multiple things. There are.
He wants to get on this kit bandwagon, man. I'm telling you.
Smaller DSPs that I think will fit the classroom standard better. That will enable me.
Are you guys installing DSPs in your classrooms?
Why would you do that?
Every single one.
Why would you do that?
Because Microsoft Teams doesn't do audio very well.
Hey,
I used to not.
See,
Now,
this is a
don't listen to him,
show
Larry.
discussion.
I'm with you. DSP everywhere.
Do you not put DSPs in on your class? Well,
Wait.
you don't
you
have
kidding
speakers.
me?
It doesn't matter.
Where have you been for the past 5 years?
floor is yours, Justin. How much do we need audio?
Yeah.
I do want to clarify. When I say DSP, I mean full rack width thing with like 25 analog I/O on it. You're still buying
Oh
those
no,
for every
it's
room?
a half rack thing with
Okay, that's
only
better.
8.
But still,
We're not buying. we're
No,
not
mine's
buying that.
custom configured card frame. What the?
Man.
Why wouldn't you?
Server-
took one of
server
those
style?
out with
Yeah.
amp cards
And I
running
only
individual
have
speakers
that
and-
half rack because there's nothing smaller yet.
Ah, okay.
There's
Fair enough.
smaller things coming.
Rumored to be.
Well,
So the trigger is just
No, not from them.
decreasing.
From like
size.
Catchbox. And sure, there's other options that I really want to explore.
But those
You're not
have been
wrong.
shipping for a while. So
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
you need to really get out there and explore the space.
I don't dare anybody revisit our standards episodes because I feel like that would take up too much time. But we'll wait. Go ahead and listen to those, and then we'll come back.
Yes.
We'll
Yeah, we'll
pause.
wait right
We'll
here.
pause
be here.
for 5 minutes.
Yeah. So
But
And we're back.
yeah, we're back. So based on what you heard, now the question I have about standard is, do you absolutely need that level of horsepower in every type of space? Now you said classroom. I'm willing to hedge and say that word classroom means something in your standard. And so that capability, so you need that capability, which can only be found within a now half rack DSP or vaporware.
yes,
correct?
or vaporware. Yeah.
Dang it, Cam. Get offline.
He's pushing us on 32x9 real hard.
Which I agree
So-
with. 32x9 is a, well, it depends if it's too
Not in all spaces. I mean,
So
it's-
Larry, aside from the DSP, are there other things that you're champing at the bit to actually integrate, or not integrate, but to include, but you haven't gotten there yet, and so now you're torn because this is your one opportunity, and the next opportunity is next March. You kind of have to wait all the way around.
Well, I'm thinking next September is when
July,
I'm looking at it
watch.
for sure now. But AV over IP, I want to at least explore, find out what it would look like in my island situation. Like, is
great.
it worth
The weather
so
is
I can
perfect.
move to the standard kit of parts? Like, that
Just
seems
jump
like
in,
a
man. Just
reasonable
buy a ticket
solution.
and go.
What do you,
Get
what do
on
you
the
mean?
plane.
You haven't bought AV over IP in your classrooms yet?
Well,
Well,
I
let's
have, but
pretend you
not
did.
as my standard classroom.
Let's pretend
I'm
you
still
did.
HD-based T everywhere.
Have you done more than one? Because it's a standard now.
Yeah. let's pretend you're on the kit bandwagon and we're 5 years down the road. No, 3 years down the road. Let's say we're 3 years down the road and you're looking at a refresh coming up in the next year or two, would you automatically assume you have to replace everything in that stack? Again,
I don't replace everything now. But I replace, as Chris was saying, I replace the control, I replace the infrastructure, I replace the displays. I
The
replace
infrastructure.
The audio. Well, the switching, the HDMI,
He means
HDBaseT switch.
distribution.
Oh.
He doesn't mean in the walls. Whereas
No.
I'm
We're
doing
going
a
to
lot
pull
of that.
new Cat 6 every time.
Well, no, Justin,
but-
I have to put electrical in walls and ceilings because it wasn't done correctly 10 years ago, and they fished an extension cord across the ceiling.
Yeah, and
I'm doing that in some spaces now.
And
yeah.
I still have a
fishing
whole
extension
bunch
cords
of.
across the ceiling.
Yeah, Larry's the one doing
Yeah.
it. He keeps showing up on my campus. We chase him off every morning.
And he only buys the bright green ones. But no, I'm still
Depot specials.
changing. I'm still changing out VGA infrastructure and old RS-232 everywhere, where we had this giant bundle of cable, and now I need 3.
Justin, what's that cable called?
Cat 6?
No, the
No,
one
no,
that's
the-
all
the
like
giant
weird
one.
multi-core weird one.
Oh.
Yeah. And we're live, so say it all you want.
The old
You don't have to
DM
say.
cable?
Yeah, that.
You know that stuff. Looks huge in
Yeah.
your hands.
It's like
Looks like it
this.
belongs in
You
an
hold it
adult
like-
movie.
Yeah,
You hold it like that.
yeah, exactly how you do it.
So,
I'm
Larry,
not
are you
comfortable with this
hoping
conversation.
when you make these changes, are you like hoping that you find the perfect widget you'll just keep buying forever and ever and ever?
No.
Or are
I'm-
you looking for like, okay, I'm going to do a video endpoint, and if it changes in 2 years, whatever, the fact is it's the technology, not necessarily the widget.
Exactly. That's more the thing. But I do like to have a standard that my students become familiar with,
Good
and
point.
that standard lasts every 3 years for support purposes. Like I don't want to
Is
change
that,
it
is that when
every
you
year.
fire all the students?
3 years.
They
Why'd you
graduate
come
then,
up
I
with
don't
3
have to
years?
worry
They
about
get
it.
one more year to train the next tranche of students, and then we switch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's the 3 years? What's the 3? Where
Well, that's the average life
3
of a
to
student.
4, somewhere in there. But that way,
Senior.
across a student's life, or
That's how
academic
long your
career.
students live?
The term is academic career, Larry.
What are y'all drinking in North Carolina?
along their academic career, they only have to like
Correct.
really become familiar with like 2 standards, maybe 3 if there's a couple of oddballs out
So
there.
you're blowing university money on your student change out every 3 years?
No.
We replace the students with the rooms. They
The
Yeah, we
systems
throw them out with the
age
bathwater.
out.
It's-
surplus.
This
I'm
isn't
trying to
West
follow.
Kentucky.
I'm trying to follow this
I'm-
North
I'm not-
Carolina money.
This isn't Western
I think
Kentucky.
Elon needs to audit North Carolina.
Yeah.
Students
Let's
or
audit.
Listening.
classroom technology does become end of life at some point, Justin. And so
Yes,
our
when it dies.
replacement cycle
dies,
is
exactly.
8 years.
That's end of life when it's dead. It's dead. It's end of life. Therefore, you
Okay.
replace it.
Oh.
You can see how hard this conversation is to have. This is more
So,
reminiscent of-
is that-
yeah.
Is that
Go ahead.
holding you up then? I'm gonna take video for example, right? So like a few years ago, I was running out OmniStream, and now I'm running out Visionaries. Are you worried of that switch, or are you worried of like
yeah,
the
is it a
DSP
product
where
or is
there's
it a
more
capability?
programming?
It's
Yeah.
the capability. Like it's okay. I want to explore moving in this direction, AV over IP.
Right.
There are multiple flavors I could go, but whatever flavor I go needs to be the standard that will meet all of my applications for the next 3 years. And so
That's a lot of
there's
pressure.
No,
That's
it is
a
the
lot
actual
of
pressure
pressure
that
on
exists everywhere in the world right now because
No,
there's
you
many
don't.
Yeah.
there's many folks that
Yeah.
are trying to determine that exact thing, Larry. I think it's a valid concern because there's a lot of people who have waited and they're checking the market, seeing where things are. You know, where's our capability? Where's the maturity? Which team am I going to go with? Am I going to be this brand of AV over IP or that brand or what am I getting? I think yes, the product and the team you hit yourself onto is important, but I think there's a lot of capabilities need to exist in your FTE, your staff, your students, all of those, and focus on that stuff too. So if you were going to make a change in your standard, what does it now mean to your actual knowledge base? How does it change how you service a space? How does it change programmatically? What does it change from your data environment? You mentioned islands. You know, those awarenesses as it pertains, it's not about just buying a thing. You know, it's not the stuff here. Again, it's not the stuff. It's the capabilities and what happens when you make that change. And I think in reviewing your standards, being aware of all that is kind of the exercise. Understand that if I make this change, what downstream effects are going to happen and how am I going to support this? You know, what does it mean? You know, and super sneaker net now because I'm in an island, so now I have to run and do all this. So does it have cascading effects that change the way you support your spaces and what does that mean to your students and your frontline staff? So it's all the ball of wax that are happening with the AV over IP conversation is that we're changing from like the analog philosophy to the full digital philosophy, and all the toolkit and support has to go with it. And so you're not alone in that concern. And I think it's easy to tiptoe and back into it through like the thing I'm going to buy as my standard, but really it's much larger than that.
See, if you come to WKU and work, you have the luxury of designing
You guys are off
something
to
once,
fucking work. It snows. Yeah.
and then if you screw it up so bad, that's one mistake, and then you move on to the next room because you're doing one thing at a time.
It's not a failure.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's a learning.
I don't
opportunity.
make 100 mistakes when I design something wrong. I just make one.
So you're saying you don't
That
make the
is-
same mistake 100 times. You make 100 different mistakes.
Hell yeah.
Failure. Fail.
Exactly.
First attempt.
And
learning.
there's not of an impact across the university when one product fails, a promise isn't delivered from that manufacturer. It's like, yeah, we're not buying that shit again. Move on to room number 2,
Well,
But you only have
and
one.
then try something new.
But this is where I found it really.
Then you don't have
liberating.
any standards. Everything ends up in the other bucket that way.
You don't have-
So that's
Everything
the
ends up in the
negative
other bucket.
side of that.
Legacy.
But
Whatever the hell.
Legacy.
your
End of life.
mistakes,
Yes.
your mistakes are easily forgotten.
because
And-
they're everywhere.
Are they, or are you constantly reminding them every single day because you cannot keep that room moving
Walk
forward?
down a hallway, mistake.
Oh yeah. Well,
And that's
I mean,
just looking at his student workers. Mistake.
Yeah, we have the plan.
You usually
in AV
blame
over
that
IP
on,
that we
like-
know they weren't the way it needed to be in day one, but we had
Yeah.
to start somewhere. You got to
Yeah.
jump in.
usually
think
you
it-
blame the budget. Like, well, I couldn't afford this thing that I wanted, so we went with this other thing. So it sucks. So we're not going to buy that again. But they got to deal with it because they didn't have the money to buy what we recommended.
Yeah, and
Hey,
I
Justin,
found
your
it
group
really
isn't responsible
liberating.
for service, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because that's the way you make your service department really angry.
We know every
Keep them
manufacturer.
gainfully employed. It's different. It's all about
Our
perspective.
control systems are QSys, Crestron, Kramer, Extron.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
We have
No problem here.
Zoom, iPad things.
AMX.
We know
I have that too.
AMX.
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
It's all relevant. I mean,
think that's-
what services are those brands delivering you?
Justin,
That's
you
the
don't have
standard.
AMX?
No.
So you're saying there's room
It's
for
all
another
Panja.
standard?
Hey, you gave me an idea. Hold on.
But I,
gonna go install one tomorrow.
Specking something
I've also
new.
kind of given up on that infrastructure. That like I don't care if I have all these products anymore. I just don't care anymore. Because if I'm trying to grow my staff too, this says, okay, if you're going to go work for an integrator, guess
You're going to see
what?
all of it anyway. Yeah.
You're going to see all of it anyway. And if you understand how it all works,
you, though?
let's roll it.
Will you,
Okay,
though?
look, in premise. But, I'm buying a lot of the main manufacturers. I'm not running a whole lot of homegrown Raspberry Pi stuff. I think it's cool. We're just not doing it.
There you go, Justin. Raspberry Pi control, buddy.
Homegrown.
Yeah, homegrown,
Mama
home
used to
coded.
make.
I mean, we're
But
not
I-
sociopaths here, so it's.
I do like the idea that I can focus on, look, I'm going to do video over IP, and I need it to be under a gig, and I need it to be able to do control over it and something else, right? And now I have this parameter, and I don't care what box I get. Does it have an API? Can I control it easily from whatever system I want to use? And let's roll with it. Same with DSPs. Does it fit my parameter standard, not the name brand standard? And I think that's where some people get hung up. Is like, it's got to be NVX. It has to be NAV. It has to be QSys. Why?
No, it doesn't.
Can I
Because that's
push
what our
against
people
that for
know.
just a-
Well, expand your mind, learn more shit, right? Get more educated on what's out there.
Learn more shit.
But
Yeah.
we've been talking about
It's
cloud
fun.
management and how there's not that
Yes.
single pane of glass. So by not standardizing on one logo on all these systems, you're opening yourself up to where until there is that single pane of glass, support becomes a little more challenging because you've got all these different systems.
I'm not buying all the same product from a manufacturer just to have a single pane of glass. That's not going to happen.
Here's the joke of it. Even if you're 100% in on an ecosystem, they still don't have
It's not. It's
Yeah, and that's been my challenge when we get to that support of a single pane of glass. across the board anyway. And right now we're employing the spreadsheet with hyperlinks protocol, right?
That's the universal controls or the universal
That's
monitoring
the
system.
well, single pane of glass right there. But you're right. However, if it fits my parameter, if it does its job on a daily basis and has an API, then in theory, like we were talking about in that show that we did, was that somebody could write those hooks. You could hire, if you so desired, a full-time programmer that's going to make that hook for you. I'm not in that world right now, which is what we talked about in that whole show. So go listen to that, folks. Again, we'll wait.
Now we're back.
And we're back.
But that's part of the reason I make some of that, and I've just that's tomorrow Jamie's hiccup.
That's future Jamie's problem.
Outrun that problem, yeah.
Today's Jamie is just make sure this stuff's all moving and working. And how do I make that so it's easy?
But defining tomorrow's standards is kind of tomorrow's Jamie's issue.
He'll be held
But you
accountable.
do
for
that the day of.
Yeah, but Larry,
Look.
he's going to blame past Jamie, and current Jamie doesn't have to deal with that.
Look, future
exactly.
Jamie is an a-hole and is going to get fired. But present
Will he, though?
Jamie
Based on
currently
the
has
actions of previous Jamie, yeah.
How is that different from past Jamie or
Yeah,
present Jamie?
Past
Like,
Jamie keeps getting promoted. So what's happening?
Yeah.
sooner or
Current
later
Jamie
that's,
just has to clean up after past Jamie,
Exactly.
leaving all this
sooner or
problems
later
for
when you
future Jamie.
bounce checks, somebody finds you.
Maybe we are sociopaths.
Maybe we are. So, I don't know.
Larry, did this answer any of
did
your
we get
question- did we get
something
anywhere?
there?
Not a one, no.
I still have a question about this one-time funds thing, but I deferred that whole question to another time.
Are they, well, so Larry, I guess
That's
to that,
another
are
day.
are they one-time funds or is this magic end of year monies?
Magic end of year money.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I am impressed that you know by March. We get ours like, hey, it's May 5th.
how-
You have to spend this by May 30th.
Yeah, that's
And-
what we get.
So we have to
June.
pre-pep. That's why my list is usually populated with the kit of parts.
The kit. How
And
much
just
kit
buy
do you
as
get
many
for
as
that?
those
It's
as I
a
possibly
windfall.
can.
Yeah.
And
Well, and when you get it at that point, it's not your kit of parts; it's kit of what's available right now.
Yeah.
Like what can actually be shipped and received in time.
look, I don't know what
Whoa,
company
you
you're
have to
buying
receive
from
it by
over the
a
last
certain
5
day?
or 6 years, but come on.
With your end of year money, do you have to receive it by like
Yes.
end of fiscal year?
The end of year,
They-
yeah. It
Well,
has
usually
to
it's,
be-
gotta be
usually
paid out.
received and installed.
Right. Because
Oh, that's
unless you're
malarkey.
mailing cash to a manufacturer
Yeah.
somewhere, which I
That's malarkey.
suspect you're not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Have you
Ours
ever heard
is
of
the same
encumbering funds?
It
Can
has
you
to
not
be
encumber
on-prem.
funds?
It
Yeah,
has
they
to
don't
be
like it.
on-prem.
The accounting office does not like carrying that over. They like to close out their books and be clean.
Well, yeah,
I
but
get it.
who cares? It's the accounting
We're not
office.
saying it's
so-
impossible. It's just frowned upon.
You need
That's
them on your
future
side,
Jamie's
so when you
problem.
make a major cock up like I did today on a previous project, that
What?
they don't come after me. So yeah.
Whoa.
It was a
You messed
invoicing
up?
thing and blah 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 blah, and so
You were doing it wrong.
I was doing it wrong because I literally forgot about a change order and whoops. But yeah, it was like $5,000. So not a big deal. But
That's a $5,000. That's like a whole classroom here.
it's like
That's
3 classrooms.
that's my paycheck for a 5-year employee.
Yeah.
No, so the way it works at UW, and the same thing is people get notification of what monies are available in about like the April, May-ish timeline, which means they have about a month. And my first couple of years there, they would then reach out to me at that point. And I would tell them, like, there's no way we could pull off 1 or 2 of these. There's no way you can have this done. So departments have learned that, unfortunately, they are now contacting me in December to see what things are going to cost based on end of year, which means I do a lot of kind of prep work and design work for spaces that probably will never exist, annoyingly.
Yes.
And a lot of those are common kit of parts. It's the same, oh, we need a conference room, oh, we need a classroom. I can give them numbers on that right now. But some of them are specialized or some of them are unique or have different circumstances around it, but they don't know if these are real. In fact, I had 2 meetings on these today at various places. I give about a 50-50 shot. Those never exist, but we have to kind of still put numbers together. So when they do come back in May, we can potentially move on some of them, which is annoying. So
Yeah.
it is a process. But to Larry's point, I'm still working within my known kit of parts, my known pile of equipment. So it's pretty much the same stuff over and over. But yeah. But I do it like Justin. I'll change out stuff at a drop of a hat.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
I don't like
Make
that
them
camera
learn something
bar.
new.
This one. So
Gone. Moving forward.
because I agree to some extent with Justin's philosophy of like, hey guys, we're changing to a different model camera because that one pissed me off. So all of a sudden, it's this camera. So, for example, I installed 5 rooms with a particular ceiling microphone array, which turned out to be a bit of a pain in the butt. So I'm going to a different one because I'm not going back to that one. So
I do it all the time. And then somebody,
Standardized
manufacturer
experience?
calls me and says, why did you stop buying her stuff? Well, mostly because it sucks.
It stopped working. Yeah.
And I'm okay with all that, like minor incidental stuff, cameras, speakers, projectors, sound, like all that's fine.
That's
But
everything. You
that
you
per
just
job.
rattle off the
Everything.
entire
what's
classroom.
left,
yeah.
Larry?
What's left?
So
is the
effectively,
parts that
everything is
actually
left
matter.
is like the network switch and the endpoint is all we're talking about at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Control
You
systems
really
don't
tell us
care.
that too.
They
Larry's
piss me
really
off. They're gone.
concerned about the DSPs
I
and
can
control
care about
system,
control
I guess.
systems.
Yeah. What's in
Control
your ecosystem?
systems, audio, switching. Those are the big ones.
Tell the data story. Understand.
Switch it
How's
up.
going?
Alternate manufacturers for like every
Just every
room
year.
in the
Hey,
building.
we're in Extron
No.
or whatever year. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. Fine.
Or just don't buy that stuff.
Or just now you're talking Teams room. Let's go.
Remote control. Let's do it.
I am. Yeah. Here's a. So
We
I
don't
use
have
that
Teams
phrase
rooms
on.
and we don't
I use
buy
that
that
phrase on
stuff.
campus enough that my team now knows it. It's like I'll just give them an HDMI wall plate and a remote, and we'll never hear from them again. Because for a lot of people, that's all they need. They don't need the full touch panel control system, all that stuff. For their basic room,
What?
wall plate and remote. It's amazing. So,
How's
I
that
was
going
on
to
a
show up
middle of
on
the
a?
wall.
That experience should be reflected in one of your standards.
it is. It's
I
type
was on a
0
meeting with
underscore A
some
part
small
3.
schools that I was explaining that very idea, and they go, "We're way more sophisticated here. It's touch panels everywhere." I'm like,
Cool.
That doesn't mean you're sophisticated.
This means you're
Gluttons
wasting
for
money,
punishment.
probably.
Now, to be fair, I used to think the same thing, but not anymore.
Yeah, again, one size does not necessarily fit all. If you have a very small footprint, maybe sub 100 rooms, and you have nice endowment money or whatever it is that's keeping you afloat, then go ahead and put that 12-inch touch panel in every small huddle space.
12. What are we on a budget here?
They make
15.
15 ultra wides
21
now.
by 9, 24 inch
Yes.
ultra wides. They're fantastic. And then I put all the UCI in the middle.
More buttons,
Yeah.
the better.
And just adds all around the side of
It's like a 4x3 slide in the 21 by 9 touch.
ads. This
calendar.
calendar brought to you by Pepsi.
I don't want any
calendar
page
running on the
flips
side.
on my touch panel. I want every page showed up at once, so I don't have to.
Every button available at all times.
But they
Doesn't
cycle
that-
through. Like
I want the airplane
Like
experience.
security
Yeah.
camera footage.
Yeah, give me the airplane. I want all that right, just right there.
new standard for you. There you go.
Put
Larry.
projector
Yeah.
freeze next to mute.
That's
All of
it. I'm in
I
an
had somebody-
airplane
I had
cockpit control system now. I mean, whack-a-mole's
So
done.
Since
We're
you
changing.
mentioned projector freeze, that's one of those buttons that I eliminated years ago because who needs that? I've had one instructor who was now livid that that's not on the touch panel in the room. We had to go in and he kept bringing it up. We had to go in and add it like on the advanced page.
I remember that when that was like a source of debate with
That's a new standard,
the
Chris.
Crestron folks and their module that like the freeze is not there anymore. Like bring it back. And so it was.
It's one of those things, and that's fine. I mean, if that's the way he wants to teach. We had blank, we had power off and all that, but no, he needs freeze. I'm like, all right, fine.
I get the use case. I've seen it.
I don't know. Just tell your students to take a picture of it and then just look at it.
We're not going to turn the projector on. Just use your phone. What are you doing?
Larry choke over there.
Why are you even
email
here?
you all the
Larry?
files. You figure it out.
You
so.
just figure
Yeah.
All right. All right. Any last thoughts on Larry needing updated standards because stuff isn't shipping yet?
Get it,
It's
Larry.
shipping. It's just
Are we
Be
like,
bold.
Is
Be
this
bold,
5 years
take
ago?
chances.
Why are we having this? Are we like?
I don't know
worried
where
about
the not shipping came from, but
You just said because you're
You said it
basing-
earlier.
You're specking
Well-
vaporware.
well,
He
that
wants to
yeah,
spec
that's not
things that
shipping
actually
yet.
exist. Yeah.
I do things that I have physically tested and I know work.
So this is just more your frustration that somebody announced something that's not yet available to you.
And things that I just haven't had time to like dig into.
Oh, by the way,
Because
when
there
you
are-
test things, because I got burnt by this recently, the testing on the test bench is not always sufficient. I had
We need
put
to
it
have a
in more-
show about testing.
more
Okay.
than a more
We need
complex
a
room to find
deep
problems.
dive into testing. When do you test something, and when do you not?
Ooh. Coming
As soon
next
as I'm-
month.
You buy
As soon as I'm installing it on
Next
the
episode.
No, like
how
if
we
you're
do it in the field.
replacing
Yeah.
a HDMI switcher with another one, and it's the same exact functionality, maybe a different brand. Are you testing every HDMI switcher, or like what do you?
No.
What's your threshold of testing?
Oh,
and
save it for
why?
the show.
Save it for
Exactly. Isn't that a good? That would be all right.
No,
That's
it's not.
That's
but
a
okay.
good topic. We'll
nobody
add
wants to
for
listen to
on
that.
topic.
All right, fine.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to hit this button and we're going to shut up.
Good
Are we
luck, Larry.
done?
Spend that money. Go get it. So, Either way.
We'll be back next month with a topic of something or other. Probably testing.
Deuces.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting up with yet another episode of AV SuperFriends On Topic. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at avsuperfriends.com.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV SuperFriends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.